SMTN.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 367. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me today is a very special guest. I'm here with the one and the only Alex from Fangamer. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I only realized as I started the show, as the consummate professional I am, I never got your last name and was like, well, I guess we'll just only half dox you for the show. So everyone, you get the, I assume, second most common A-letter name to try and find Alex, but we at least know where you work.
Well, it's also going to be pretty easy to find the whole name because it's in the credits of the records.
That's true. I mean, yeah, Fangamer, a lot bigger than when you guys started a couple years ago. Not that big that we're having to hunt down multiple Alexes.
Luckily, I am the only Alex at Fangamer. But as soon as that changes, I'm going to get a lot more pings in our Slack, I'm sure.
I was going to say, yeah, imagine all the three Alexes out there listening to this podcast. You're dashing their hopes of ever working at Fangamer.
I'm going to stop any other ones from coming in. I'm sorry.
It's like the Highlander rule. You don't want to be like one of six Alexes.
No, it's much easier for me if there's only one.
So, for anyone out there who may not be aware of the one and only Alex from Fangamer, who are you, what the heck is Fangamer, and what do you do?
My name's Alex, and I work at Fangamer, as you said. Fangamer is an online merchandising company for video games and video game-related apparel, books, toys, shirts, pins. We do a little bit of everything at this point. Originally, it was just shirts and pins when it was started out of a apartment by our CEO, Reed Young. It's kind of branched off from Starman.net, the Earthbound fan community, which he also ran. They wanted to make a couple shirts and mugs, and it did really well, so they kind of just kept going. And that was about 2007, and here we are now. We've got offices in the U.S., in Japan. We have a warehouse in Europe. We've really expanded, and it's been a crazy, crazy journey.
I mean, even I had a friend actually recently who was in the area for at least the office sign where you can kind of see it from the inside of the building for the Fangamer Japan office.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Fangamer Japan office itself is in a much smaller city, but they do have a pop-up shop that operates out of Shibuya. It's in the crossing. It's Jigo. Mm-hmm. So there you can see the big sign with the artwork that's signed by Toby, Night Margin, just a whole bunch of other like artists that we work with, and a bunch of indie game legends.
It was kind of funny with a lot of the like Deltarune stuff recently after the last like Direct. It got me like thinking about Toby Fox being such a very interesting online personality of like, they're not like, oh man, I totally am forgetting. It's like, is it Logic Funk or who's the guy who developed Balatro?
Balatro?
Yes. Because he has like a name he goes by. I'm Googling it right now. But, like, he's kind of, like, funny of, like, where they're very online and you can, like, get a hold of them. But, like, I don't think, at least to my knowledge, that, like, no one's ever, like, met or... Oh, sorry, no, Local Thunk. Local Thunk is the...
Yeah, Local.
Local Thunk is the developer of Balatro, and is someone who's very funny of, like... That's why I've been watching... I love all the awards Balatro ever wins, because it's just a big guessing game of who's picking up the award for them this time, because he's just never going to any of the shows. And...
yeah. And it's been a video of the Jimmy accepting the award.
Who's Jimmy?
The Joker.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Ben Starr. No,
Yeah,
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 that
Ben
one
Starr.
that one might be my favorite. Watching Wout pick up a bunch of them was funny, but yeah, literally just having Ben Starr like a day or two after him, April Fool's getting fired, now picking up an award is very funny and probably greatly confusing to anyone who isn't chronically online. But
Sorry, Jimbo. I said Jimmy. My
Jim,
bad.
well, you're very you're. It just shows how close you are with him.
Yeah,
You've gotten to a special level of Balatro intimacy.
Balatro to me is so addictive and so good, but I try to limit myself because otherwise I'm just sitting there draining my phone battery because I'm just playing on my phone constantly, like losing very quickly usually.
Yeah, I would not
But
allow myself to play that on a handheld because of that exact same reason. It'd be like
yeah,
I need to like sit down on the PlayStation if I'm going to play it, or I'm not going to touch it at all. Because, like, if there was a Vita port that someone like homebrewed and do Balatro, I would just be uh, so in trouble. But the funny thing, going back to like my Toby Fox one, was like I forgot that there were like random sightings people kind of have had of him over the years. But it was one of those things I was thinking of. I was like, I don't know when the last time Toby Fox has like left Japan. It's like it's one of those funny ones of like you never like hear him like going to a like game show or award for anything, but like people will run into him every now and then in Japan and you'll hear about it or maybe see like a photo of the back of his head. But it is very funny of like someone who is so prominent but also like he's someone who will be like casually invited over to someone like Sakurai's house, but also just like I don't really know where he lives. He just might live in this general vicinity of the country.
and he likes it that way. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
he's a very secretive guy.
no, I can only imagine, but it's kind of funny because it's got to be one of those weird ones, especially for like a lot of smaller or like one man dev team kind of style things like that, and like with Balatro of like you kind of gotta wonder of like what route would you want to pick? Like, would you want to be the Toby Fox of the world, or would you want to be the next Sakurai if you had a choice? Of like, you gotta imagine Sakurai, he can't just go into like a camera shop and like walk around and like pick up some electronics. It's got to be like every nerd in a 100-mile radius of Japan just harasses him.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And for me, I would never want that level of success. I do not want to be able to just go anywhere and have swarms of people show up. That sounds so stressful.
I just especially it's always funny kind of comparing it from the Japanese perspective versus the Western side of it. Because like there was a funny thing recently of did you see like the Sony PlayStation photos from Ken Kudaragi's house?
No, I didn't.
So I forget the name of the YouTuber or photographer who went over there, but someone basically had a contact to Ken Kutaragi, and they were like, "Hey, do you have any interesting like PlayStation memorabilia from your time at the company?" And he's like, "Oh, I still have my original prototype of the Sony PlayStation or the Nintendo PlayStation as it was known at the time." And what's funny is like I forgot the one that was making those circuits for conventions a number of years ago. I forgot that actually got sold. Like I think sometime after 2020. So it's not as easy to kind of find. But like I've held and played a very, very weird version of Street Fighter 2 on that old prototype that someone found. But it was funny because for the longest time, everyone was like, "Oh, it's the only one." And he found it, well, I guess he found Ken Kutaragi, and Ken Kutaragi was like, "Oh yeah, it's in my closet." And he took these really beautiful photos of it. But what was so funny was like, maybe a day or two after the photos went live, Sony made him take them down. And I'm like, what a like funny thing to still care about. To be like, we can't let the world know that Ken Kutaragi has a PlayStation.
I mean, it's a very, very rare machine, so I get it. They don't want to give too much away.
It's kind of funny though because the wild thing with it, if you get a chance or anyone listening out there, it is different than the one that was making rounds a couple of years ago, which kind of makes you wonder like how many different weird variations there were for stuff like that. And I'm always like such a sucker for like how like how the sausage is made, like for video games, especially hardware. But like that one is so funny of like how far along they got and how many different versions of it there are out there. It is kind of nice to know that there might be like some other weird ones out there that just people have never seen. But we are not here to gab all about PlayStation history as much as I would love to derail the show anymore. We were like maybe 2 minutes into your intro, Alex. I completely had forgotten for you. So you talked about Starman. You talked about kind of the quick Fangamer history for it. How long have you been with Fangamer?
I've been with Fangamer about 7 years now. Yeah, 7 years. And I started just actually in the mailroom. Like I started as a seasonal hire,
All
even.
right.
Yeah, I was there. I was supposed to be there for maybe 2 weeks. Then,
That's a very short season. Were you like late into December? Like what happened?
well, so originally my first interaction with Fangamer was as a fan. I was on Starman.net and I didn't post a whole lot. I just kind of was a big Earthbound fan. That was me and my younger brother. We rented that when we were kids and were blown away. And we eventually found Starman.net and Fangamer after that became a thing. And then one day we learned that Fangamer was actually based in the city we lived in, Tucson, Arizona. And we sent an email out to read, and we got to be the first customers to actually visit the office. So from that point, we kind of built a relationship with some of the original staff there, who are pretty much all still there. And one day, several years later, at this event we were having called Camp Fangamer, which was just like a little local convention, Starman.net people, Fangamer fans, which, by the way, is actually the first place I saw Undertale. Um, Toby had a little table with some black and white printouts and little sheets saying, check out my Kickstarter, check out the game.
Oh
And
man, yeah, the Kickstarter was forever ago.
yeah, so it's a very special event that we hope to sometime in the future have again or something like it. But
Yeah, because I forget, has there not been one since 2020, right?
I think the last one was actually 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. We had three of them, and it's become a thing that we have not been able to do in a really long time because we are frankly just really, really busy at this point.
Would you
And it's a lot of
would you
work.
describe Camp Fangamer as like kind of similar to, oh, I'm forgetting the name of it. There's a really similar show, at least I always kind of got a very similar vibe to. It's kind of something that they do out in Japan, and I forget. It's like they've done it a couple different years. It's like a usually a bunch of like they'll rent out like a room and have a bunch of like big and small. Sony usually sponsors them and a bunch of other like publishers for like Japanese indie games and kind of do like a showcase and like little workshop demos.
It's similar, but we honestly didn't really even have that many like indie games there. It was like Toby was a member of the Starman community, so he came to be part of the Camp Fangamer experience, and he happened to be making a game, so he was showing it off there. But there wasn't a ton of indie devs there showing anything off or anything because at the time we didn't really have the capacity for setting something like that up. It was just kind of just a group of friends really just making a little party essentially, but renting out a hotel and using the event spaces they had there, having little arcades and what are they called, panels
Hmm.
for different things that everyone there knew how to do, like ROM hacking or video editing, using Mario Paint to make a movie, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy to think that that was 2018 because it's like I remember always like seeing pictures of it with it, but it was always one of those things of like I probably like with how long it has been and everything for it. It's like it doesn't feel that long ago until you realize you can barely remember anything from it.
yeah. it gets away from you real quickly. But I was not working at Fangamer at that point. I was just attending and a fan. But I was having some serious job dissatisfaction with where I was, and I saw how much everyone who was working there seemed to be enjoying themselves. So I thought I'd ask Reed, is there any extra work you guys need? And about a month or so later, they needed some help in the mailroom. I came, I did my job well, and then they kept keeping me around.
As a fellow mailroom worker for more years than I wish to admit publicly, but I'm sure very easy to find. That's actually really cool, especially just because I mean, yeah, even at that time, like, what was Fangamer even like probably just about 50 or so people big?
Oh, not even then. I think I was employee 14,
Oh,
13,
damn. Yeah,
somewhere in there.
even smaller.
Yeah, now we're well past like 100, but at that point, I think we had just opened up Fangamer Japan, and our Tucson office was everybody could fit in, more or less everybody could fit in one room that we had all our desks at.
I was gonna
But
say I've seen the current office and warehouse. Have you guys had any other locations, or has that been your one and only warehouse?
in the US, just the one.
Okay.
Like we try to keep it to just one, but that would be probably the fourth office building,
Oh, okay.
maybe including like Reed's apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've it's all been on the same street somehow, but it's been different buildings along that street, which have become increasingly bigger because we it's our warehouse and our offices. So as the need for having more product on hand rises, our real estate has to rise.
No, I can only imagine. Now I gotta ask though, and now I'm like even like more curious with it. So, how did you go from you had 2 weeks in the mailroom to still employed?
They just liked me, I guess. I came in, did my job well, and they moved me to part time after about a week and a half, and then a couple of weeks later, I was full time. They had a need for someone who could do the work, and I just kept going up and up from there.
So would that be, were you doing like internal mail sorting and delivering for stuff incoming? Or was it like shipping out and like helping like with that part of it, or was it kind of like a mixture of both?
So the way our mailroom works is that we'll take the online orders, and then someone will get the receipt, find the products that we have to make, into packages, bring it all together to some big tables, and then the people there will box it up, put a little, bonus sticker in there, whatever you need to have in there, make sure everything's packaged very well and secure, tape it up, slap a label on it, and then we send it out in bags, boxes, whatever it needs to go in for whatever carrier we have. So it's all just kind of handled internally there.
Okay.
And that's kind of still how we do things. It's a little bit more complicated these days, but
Just a lot bigger, just a lot more tables, I assume.
part of it, yeah. And we
So,
have a very diligent staff in the mailroom who keeps it all working because without them, we would just be struggling to stay afloat.
oh yeah, I mean, it is always so funny, especially either looking out from the outside or being actually part of it when it comes to logistics in a company, especially for shipping in and like even receiving. It's so funny of like how easy it can be for some people to kind of forget about it or not think it's that big of a deal. But it's like when you have like a well-oiled kind of like mailroom like really working, you don't like, as long as everything's working, it should be something you're not really ever thinking about with it. But it's so easy for it to just immediately kind of be like stumbling all over itself, or like the lack or amount of like people you have there just totally helping or hindering like crazy.
Yeah, and you never really know how many people you'll actually need, which is always something we end up bumping up against, especially during the holidays, which is, our biggest bottleneck for sure. When we have things like the Black Friday sales and, the holiday season ramping things up, suddenly we realize, maybe we need a couple more people. But, we always come through, and it's a labor of love.
Do you remember, not probably the very, very first thing, but do you remember, like, on, like, what it would have been, like, either your first day or week, one of the things you would have been shipping out from back then, like, what it would have been from?
Yeah, I remember working on shipping out vessel hoodies from Hollow
Oh, okay.
Knight and the Slime Rancher Slimepedia.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I was actually just thinking about it because I'm like, I have been aware of Starman and Fangamer for many, many years. Unfortunately, unlike you, I actually didn't realize Fangamer was based in Arizona till I had moved out of Arizona. So I've just perpetually kept admiring it from afar, and I think actually I'd never ordered anything from it. I was probably pretty late, although I don't know like how late this would have been with it. The first thing I probably ever bought from Fangamer was when you guys, and this would have been before your time, I ordered the first PS4 version of Retro City Rampage. And I remember when I ordered that, I was more shocked than I should have been, but this was a very different time, especially for ordering and buying games, of like getting my package and all the little like tchotchkes and stickers and like fun notes and stuff that was in there, and I thought that that was so cool. And I remember like I still have all that stuff that was in my first Fangamer delivery, and it was just kind of funny of like how even after all these years, like 13 plus years later, like that still kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, that's probably back when we used to even hand draw the little art cards. So, or it could be right around when we made the change to just having fan art printed in high quality little art cards for the bonus things. And then, so maybe even still got a button with that.
Yeah, that
I
was. I forget what the button was from. It may have been a Starman button. I'm not sure exactly what the button was, but I remember the art was something that Nina had drawn, and the sticker was from Undertale. And it was funny because I had had that years before I ever finally played Undertale. I actually never played Undertale until the physical Vita version came out. So I was very late and did not realize that I had had a random pixel dog in my collection for as many years as I did.
it's a nice thing to find out after.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was always kind of the funny thing with, especially nowadays. Fangamer is kind of one of those funny things of you guys definitely weren't like the first ones really out there doing it or anything, but it's that thing of I think with the stuff you guys curate of putting out, working with, getting like original stuff put out for, or even just like licensing old things. It's been one of those funny ones of I have been buying so many different things either around or through you guys or hearing about other people getting stuff, and out of all the kind of like similar companies out there who do stuff like this, I feel like, as unbiased as I can be with it, you guys just kind of have the best word of mouth in terms of from artists working with you guys from like the game dev perspective, but also to the quality of product you guys make, and from like the end product like fan perspective of like once it's in hand.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we definitely try to do our best with every product we make because we also are people who buy this kind of product and we want to see the best things that we can make out there.
What did you do after you had left the mailroom? Like, what was your next kind of position leading up to now? It's funny. I don't think we've actually gotten to it. What is your current like official title, by the way?
My official title right now is actually licensing and music production.
You definitely should have lied and said we're still in the mailroom. Actually. but I appreciate you inviting a mail guy on.
I'm
I would gladly still have on here if the mail, but that would have been very funny. So what were there kind of various other stepping stones you sort of had to sort of get here, or especially just because I can kind of imagine it being like a journey to get there, or it just being like, hey, we have this position, or we're thinking about having this position, who would be someone who's a good fit for it?
So things have changed a lot in the last few years to get a little bit more structured. But when I started, it was a little bit more freeform, and everybody kind of did a little bit of everything. So even back when I was in the mailroom, like there was people who were at the sea level, you know, who would still be in the mailroom helping out too. And during the holidays, a lot of us still help out. Like it's not as needed anymore, but every now and then, they need a couple extra hands. Everybody helps out. But now it's a little bit more structured. I did go. My next step was customer service. I did a lot of like the Kickstarter fulfillment emails and actually packaging and sending a lot of that stuff. Like Bloodstained was a big one that I uh, did a lot of the emailing and shipping for, like by hand,
I
which
was gonna say,
was
do I have you to thank for O sleeving every copy of that game now?
yeah, it's a real time, but it was worth it because everybody, for the majority, got things. They received them. They got what they ordered, and everything was in good condition. And if it didn't arrive in good condition, we fixed it.
And I mean, I feel like there are so many books or documentaries that could be made about just an individual Kickstarter from launching to completion of it, of like they're all so different. They all have their own horrendous level of challenge, from funding, designing, pitching, marketing, fulfillment, and even just getting shipped out. Of like, I was so late into the Kickstarter, like of like actually supporting Kickstarters, just from years of following it from the outside, and even though probably maybe 10 or so I've ever supported on my side. I'm always so impressed slash horrified when I learn more details about them, and just be like, wow, it's kind of like, and I have a similar thing also with like how much I've worked in and around mail, just through like the U.S. mailing system, or even like FedEx and UPS and other things like that. Of the more I learn about how everything kind of worked and gets made, it's more of like, wow, every delivery is a miracle. It's like none of these should work.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more complicated than it seems like at first sight. And I'm so glad we have such a like great team to handle it all these days. And also back then, everybody did amazing job. Like just every aspect of it is so stressful and so much work, but everybody made it work.
Um, yeah, that is so funny. It's really funny because I didn't back Bloodstain, but I had a friend recently pick up a couple of copies of Bloodstain because for whatever reason he was in LA, and at this book off there was like 5 copies of the Kickstarter like cover there with like the little
Oh,
O sleeve, and I'm like, he picked them all up, and I was like, it was really funny because it's like they're not like they're crazy rare, but it's like, who was this person just like stacking up bloodstained O sleeves, and like, oh man, in 6 years this is gonna be worth gold, I tell you.
well, were they the signed ones?
Oh, I'll have to ask. I only saw the side of them. I'll have to ask. I don't think that, yeah, because only certain tiers were signed, right?
Yeah, there was a couple that had signed sleeves and a couple of signed posters as well.
I'll have to ask him. The friend I know who picked him up is a sicko who just collects too much stuff in general. But I'll have to ask because if they were signed, I would definitely understand that a little bit more. So for you, at least with this current position, how long have you kind of been doing it in this role recently?
I've been on the music production side probably around 5 years now. I think 4 or 5 years. So I was working with the music production side of it is a fairly small team. It's really mostly myself and our director of licensing, Noah Lane, who is great, and he got us so many connections with some of the bigger names there. Like, I mean, we've been working with Atlus for like 7 years, and it's all really because branching off from when he joined us maybe 9 years ago, and really took us to a more direct licensing route because we were unofficial for a few years there in the early days. And from there, I've just worked with him on pretty much every release we've had that Fangamer's made. Is you can find our names on those.
And for you, do you have that much of a like music background or like any kind of stuff you're doing previously, work or education wise?
Yeah, even like my first job was actually working in a music store locally here, and learning about repairing and selling, instruments and sheet music and that kind of thing. But
Now you just need to mess with me and tell me you worked at Zia and it'll make me really, really confused.
no, no, not Zia, but it was called Chicago Music Store, and it was here for
Oh, yeah.
like 50 years. It's actually shut down now, that location, but it was an institution.
No, I actually had been to that at least God, probably like 08, 09 probably would have been the last time. It was like a horrifically long time ago.
I was probably working there at that time, I
Oh
think.
that yeah, that's when like I gotta do like the weird math of like, did you know that like 15 years ago you checked me out and then we just randomly reconnected and no one will ever put these two pieces together again?
This is one of those hidden facts, yeah.
Yeah, so after all my Craigslist ad postings for misconnection, we finally rekindled this.
But from when I started working on the music stuff, it was really just more of a helping to organize the many plates we had spinning. We try to make a few releases at a time at the very least, because it's a lot of work to put something like a vinyl together, and just sometimes you have to make some decisions on them, like you have to cut a song here, or decide what the artist is going to be, what the art direction is going to be, and it's a process.
Were you big into vinyl collecting for most of your while? Ironically, like for me, I have been a lifelong video game and just music fan in general, but have almost primarily always been a CD person. And it took video game soundtracks kind of becoming big again, maybe like 10 something years ago now at this point, to finally make me suck it up and start buying vinyls. Because for the longest time, I was like, I like my CDs. I don't take up a lot of space. But like we were getting to the point where like vinyl was so much more popular than CDs. It was like, well, it's either this or nothing. Like once I finally started getting them, I was like, ah, damn, all right, yeah, this is really nice.
So when I started working on the music aspects of Fangamer, I didn't actually have all that many records. I had, a handful. I think I had a really, very mid-tier player. But as time went on, yeah, I definitely became a much bigger collector, and I got a much more expensive record player.
Can
In
we
payment
classify
plan.
you in music snob territory now?
Oh no, I don't fault anyone if they don't want to listen to something on a record. I mean, it's not the most convenient way to listen to something. I still, every now and then I'll just pull up some YouTube videos and play like that. That's really mainly how I do it. But for me, listening to something on a record is more of, sit down, enjoy it fully, like immerse yourself in it, because you can't fast forward, you can't skip. Like, you're playing the whole thing, you're getting back up and interacting with it, flipping it over so you can hear the rest of it. It's, to me, the best way to experience an album in its entirety.
I will say, I know there's a bunch of different channels out there who do. Big shout out to any of the people out there who do the like really nice surround sound recording of the vinyl. I
Yeah.
like listening to those on YouTube. Those are always really fun. I especially like listening to those for like the really, really expensive imports, like from Japan and stuff.
Yeah, there's a few of those channels that honestly, when I'm like, because we go through and we check every aspect of every release that we do from like top to bottom. Sometimes when I'm listening to like a new pressing of something and I just want to be like 100% sure for like, after the fourth time I've listened to it on my own with my little stopwatch and everything, I will pull up a YouTube video of that record playing and like sync it up and be like, okay, making sure 100% these match up.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the funny thing, because even similarly with cassette and uh, CD production, vinyl just has so many steps into production, from pre-pro even to like manufacturing of like when something goes wrong, it's less what's wrong versus how many things are wrong. What steps led to this happening?
Yeah, I've heard of some just big errors happening in some other productions, none of ours,
Oh yeah,
but
flawless.
I've heard some real horror stories, and we just try to avoid that at every turn. We make sure everything's top to bottom perfect as we can get it.
Well, and that's actually one of my favorite things about your guys' not only release method but also cadency of whether it be intentional or not, it really speaks well to kind of the respect that you guys put into each release of the quality, but also it never feels like no one's ever being like, "Dang guys, I gotta take a third mortgage out. I can't keep up with my Fangamer releases."
Yeah, we don't want to, flood the market. We don't just put anything on vinyl or, and we are doing CDs now as well. I don't know if you knew that. We've got a couple that we have released recently, and we're starting like a line of CDs, kind of a Criterion Collection style, like Fangamer CD1, Fangamer CD2.
I was gonna say the only CDs I know, because yeah, I know you guys have done Deltarune before. Okay, yeah, we've got Hollow Knight, Hades, Celeste.
So those are ones that other people have produced that we wholesale because we work with several partners, and we're not like in active competition with each other. We all want to work together to make
Damn
great
you, ship
products.
to shore! How dare you!
Oh, ship to shore, R.I.P.
They were the only one I could use as a joke because I'm like they're the only ones I know aren't around anymore, and I used to really like their releases.
I mean, and they're fully available still. This we still have some of their releases, and obviously they are now the catalog belongs to Materia.
Oh yeah, like
So
so would I'm trying to like I'm assuming so would like the World of Horror one be like a Fangamer release?
yeah, so that's one that we produced, and we you know organized everything on it, got the artwork made, and that's fully us right there.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of the route that we're going with the CDs. They're going to be in that similar fashion, which very much we're going with like a minimalist kind of collection look, which I think is really cool. And the CDs, we kind of based them on the look of like PS1 games. You know how they had that like single color like top
Hmm.
with yeah, and I think they look really cool.
Yeah, the disc art is really really nice. I always never hear anyone else complain about this, so if this is not a thing you guys do, please do not take it personally. The thing I always get excited to look for in a CD release, and I'm almost like 9 out of 10 times disappointed, is the insert booklet. Now, do you guys have you been trying to mostly just keep it like the fold out? Like, because a lot of releases are if you get anything that's not just like a tiny little 2.5 by 2.5 square, you're getting like maybe the track listing and a little bit of art on the inside as like a reverse.
Yeah, we have the little booklet inside with the art cover and the track listing, all the legal information. And as time goes on, I'm sure we'll put some more in there. Any notes that the composers want to provide or anything like that. But right now, since it's still pretty fresh, it's not just a single piece of paper with the cover on it, which is always good. But yeah, we like to cram in as much as possible. Like I'm sure you've seen our physical game releases, and a lot of people are always very happy that we actually have like instruction booklets in there, which is almost a relic at this point.
Oh, I mean, you guys are not the gold standard, but I will say I still to this day bust out my copy of Undertale to show people the instruction manual just because of how nice that was.
Yeah, because we've all had the disappointment of buying a physical game and then it's just empty inside.
Well, I mean, I think we just call that now buying a game.
Hmm.
So yeah, you guys always do a really really nice job, not only in terms of like putting one out with it, but like the reason ironically I go to the Undertale one, it's not even an instruction manual. Um, it's the fact that you guys even put in the effort of like giving it like a nice actual flat bind, not just like here's some like six pieces of paper with legalese and black color only with like a stapled corner fold.
Yeah, we try our best to make it something that you're going to want. Not just some paper that you're going to toss aside once you've opened the game.
Yeah, because that's always like the funny thing, at least coming from a collector side. I recently had this with some Atlus CDs, ironically, of and I think this is also like such a weird one of. Do you have much of like an import collection for your music, whether it be like vinyls or CDs?
Oh yeah, I've got several records that either I ordered from Japan or like I went to Japan a couple times for work and for to go to Japan, and I came back with definitely more records than I thought I could put in
Oh yeah.
luggage.
Oh God, moving, and just yeah, yeah. Records unlock a new fear of like, please don't ever let this break within me. Um,
Yeah,
Japan really, really spoiled me though for how nice a lot of like CD and vinyl releases can be. Not only from like a presentation aspect, but also the notes, the production quality, like the print, the paper they use, and even like the other materials along with it. That just it's funny because I think in the West a big part of it, even going like just back to like game manuals, is like, oh my God, look, there's a manual versus look at all the work that went into making this like note page or this booklet or like these lenticular notes and everything like that. Of like all the little extra steps that you knew no one needed to make, but like just help it stand out so much more. Like that's the kind of stuff that like once you see it enough, it really sticks out like a sore thumb when it's not there.
Yeah, and we like having all that stuff. We want to buy some of this stuff too, so we want it to be as full and complete and worthwhile as possible. It's not like you can just get it for $9.99 at some GameStop or whatever.
I mean,
Like,
I mean, hey, you know what? We can always manifest somehow. Maybe in a weird dystopian world, 20 years from now, we'll be seeing like Fangamer stuff at like it's like the Target aisle for Fangamer merch.
well, actually, we do have some of our releases in actually GameStop and Target and some of the big box stores.
I was gonna say, I know at least for your games, I know I've seen you guys always do a good job of putting them on like Best Buy and all the other websites.
Yeah, well, we specifically just don't do things like Amazon because it really doesn't help anybody.
No. Yeah, let's
Like
let's undervalue our own product as quickly as humanly possible.
yeah, it doesn't help the developers, which we want them to get their money, which is a big part of what we're doing is helping these developers, with the royalties that they get from our products. They just go directly to them. And
Are you
the
guys
customers.
are you guys able to? And I'm sure it's always kind of different for each game and IP and stuff that you work with, whether it be like with the developer versus like publishers and stuff with it. Do you guys have like a flat rate you normally work at in terms of like how the breakdown kind of goes from covering your production versus like paying the developer, or is it usually always kind of different depending on the situation?
I mean, I can't get too deep into it, but our basic model is that we cover the costs of production, and we have our own distribution, we have our warehouse for shipping everything. We do the customer service, we do the design, unless the artists want to provide something, but we handle all the costs, and then whatever the royalty rate is set for the products, that just goes straight to the developers or whoever is the royalty holder. And that's from the first sale immediately. Like, you set up an account with us on our like record keeping software, and you just get your payments. So just we try to keep it very easy and simple for the developers, because a lot of the people we work with are also, indie devs who don't have time to be going through all this and, making artwork for a shirt or dealing with, CD production. They just want to make sure that the fans have what they want and that they get paid.
No, I definitely get that. And that's always like the tricky part, especially for a lot of smaller and independent stuff with it, of like they're already slamming their head into the wall just trying to get the game out or support the game, where it's like, hey, it's nice to get stuff like official merch made or even like produced, especially God nowadays, like with how much of a nightmare hellscape it is of like, hey, I posted this cool piece of fan art on my Twitter account. Cool, here's like 5 Redbubble pages that already stamped it on a cheap T-shirt for like $5.
Yeah, and sometimes that does still happen with our stuff too. Like, we'll release something and somebody will get a real low res screenshot of the design.
Does
put it
anyone
on
at the office
Redbubble.
have like a fun bootleg? Like, because I know you guys have like all of your release, like at least most of like the stuff you guys have released, like in an area in the office. But like, has anyone brought in like any like fun bootleg stuff they found of yours?
Every now and then, yeah. Like, sometimes someone will email us about a return, and we get it back, and it's definitely not something that we made. Like, it's something someone got off, Amazon or Alibaba or something, and it's just wildly off. And we'll handle it for them and help them out, but it's always interesting to see some of these things that people think we made that we really would never let slide.
Yeah, like I always appreciate like the ones that just really make no sense. Like I saw one that was taking a JPEG of the Valhalla like vinyl, and it was just on a mug. Like none of the logos, none of the CD stuff taken off, and it was just like, you know what? Like I think there's almost like a post-ironic modernism like thing that would be like funny about this if it wasn't for the fact that like nobody who made any of the art or owned the game made any money off this.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate reality of the internet that that's just going to keep happening. But we do our best to try to shut them down when we find them.
Yeah, is that just like a thing where like is it just as simple as like a DMCA claim, like sending a cease and desist? Like how much actual kind of work really can you kind of do with it being online?
It kind of depends on the situations, but our customer service team handles a lot of that, so it's it varies. But
Okay.
it's something that has to be done every now and then. But sometimes it's just got to get away from us, and we there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, and that's like the internet unfortunately just kind of makes it so much messier, just especially with how different international copyright law is all over the world.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of, but we have good people on it.
So obviously one of the big reasons I wanted to bring you on here, outside of I just love picking everybody's brain, uh, whoever wants to let me talk at them and listen, hopefully in the process, but one of the big things that came up recently is you guys have been working with Atlus for, God, I want to say at least the better part of like 5+ years, right?
It's actually been about 7.
Okay. Yeah, because it's been, what, since like probably Persona 5 was your guys' first stuff?
We did, yep, we did some Persona 5 stuff, quite a bit of it.
But the normie stuff aside, listen, I can go to H&M and get a Persona 5 Morgana shirt. I don't want to hear about that. It's the sickos like me who want to like stop the presses. We have not one, not two. You guys had the cojones to do three SMT games and give them a vinyl release all at once. Because you guys just put up for pre-orders the let's get the official name. It is Shin Megami Tensei 1, 2, and If vinyl soundtrack box. Uh, that got
I'm
put up.
actually,
Oh,
I actually
yo,
just want to correct you real
oh,
quick.
please.
We didn't put anything for pre-order. That's for sale. That's available right now.
That's true. You know what? That's on me because, like I said, there's a lot of companies who put stuff out there for it. I'm so broken of like, well, if I buy anything, clearly it's going to take at least 7 to 9 months to be produced and then shipped to me. You're right. These exist. I've seen LaRue's unboxing video. It's real. You haven't hoaxed us into it.
Yeah, we try to never really do pre-orders if possible, like because who wants to wait for their stuff? It's we can assume people will buy something if it is high quality and the demand is there. We would rather just have people go right in and grab it.
Yeah, and I mean, and the nice thing as well with it is you kind of have that immediate satisfaction as well of not only having having the item getting released, but then it's like boom, you've ordered it, it's getting shipped, you've got it within a week, and you kind of have that not only immediate satisfaction of revealing something, but also now everyone who gets it posting about it online, sharing stuff about it, things like that, and kind of having that up there because this is your guys's third SMT vinyl, but you guys also did Snowboard Kids as well, so this would be like your fourth one in general for Atlus. This
Yes.
one probably, I'm very biased. Like this is the one I'm the most excited about, just because only one of these games we've ever had officially licensed here. You can't even buy it anymore, and then it's just kind of one of those weird ones of like the people buying this, like you're not just gonna kind of stumble across somebody who's like, oh yeah, I really like Persona 5. Let me get the vinyl for If. I think it was really smart to kind of combine them all into one. Was that like always intentional of like which ones to split up versus like which ones made sense to bundle?
Yeah, so the way I kind of viewed it was they're just like different kind of eras. So the classic era, one, two, if, and then the Nocturne being its own thing for sure. Four was just only available on the 3DS. So just they all came at very different times, and it made sense to split them up this way, I thought.
Yeah, and it's funny too. We don't know a release date for it yet. I doubt I will be smart enough to sneak that out of you, but it's at least coming. We've seen what it looks like. It looks gorgeous. Well, we've at least seen the front. We haven't seen what the Apocalypse artwork looks for it. I was shocked you guys didn't split those up just because of how big those soundtracks are. I was actually really surprised that that's going to be in one set.
Yeah, that's one set.
But
Uh, it's in production. We plan to do it this year, and that's really the most I can say on it. But yeah, the cover art we have released, and in an early stage, anyways. But it's all Tony Infante art, incredible artist from Spain. He's done the artwork for all three of the current sets and the fourth upcoming set. And it's honestly, this is the one that I've been myself also waiting for the most because personally, four is my favorite, like
four's
hands down.
four's soundtrack. Four used to be like out of 1 through 5, I would probably have said like the four duology was my favorite. But Vengeance really throws a wrench in that. I really like a lot of the tracks in Vengeance. It kind of gives it that one up because like 5 does that similar thing of like they sound so drastically different from one another that just makes it so much like more kind of instantly recognizable. At least for me, and I'm sure probably has the recency bias thing. But that's like the funny thing as well about them being kind of put out by like release generation. But it is kind of nice though, because there is that thing that I also enjoy listening to earlier SMT soundtracks. The trickier part, and I'm sure this is more of a kind of like a licensing nightmare with it. I assume the songs and everything from SMT 1, 2, and If, those are all just from like the most recent re-releases that are all just based on the SNES soundtrack, right?
They are based on the SNES soundtrack, yes.
Because I'm
And
I'm I'm that like one like nerd in the back of the like anime convention who's like, oh, you really got to listen to the Sega CD version of SMT1. That's where it really, where it's like those are like the bootleg vinyls that like I'll never see unless like something really insane ever happens.
yeah, and we did use the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom, sorry, the Super Famicom releases of 1, 2, and If, but we did also, for every release we do, we have it mastered by our own. Sorry, we have it mastered by Adam Gonzalez with Telegraph Recording
Hmm.
or Telegraph Mastering. Sorry, and he makes sure everything is going to sound as best as it possibly can for vinyl. So we don't just throw the you know wave files onto a disc or whatever. We make sure that everything is going to sound correct and as best as it possibly can for the release that we're doing, like whatever format we're making.
Hmm.
And we also actually had Michael Kelly help us with some of the song selection because ultimately there are limitations to what we can put on vinyl, and we have to make cuts here and there every now and then. But I think this release is about as complete as we could possibly get, and it sounds great.
So out of the main three that are kind of out, do you have a favorite that you've been able to put out so far?
Of the ones that we've already released,
Yeah, so from Nocturne 5 and 1 through If, like, do you have like a preference of like either like which one you really like more in terms of just like the overall presentation or stand out to you? Because obviously 4 not out also gonna win on the favoritism there. Do you have like a personal favorite that's currently out?
I think for me, the 1, 2, If set is currently my favorite of the three that we've made. They're all really high quality, and we put a lot of work into them. But this one, I really like the classic original stuff, and the artwork for it is amazing.
I was going back. I'm looking at the Nocturne one right now. I can't. So that was what 2022.
Yeah, I believe 2022.
That is
I'd have to
crazy.
double check.
So yeah, because
We've
we had
Yeah,
five. It was five was 2024, right? I think it was like earlier 2024.
yeah.
When you guys originally kind of worked out with this, or if you're able to say, did you kind of sign them game by game, or was it one of those things of you had expressed interest of being like, hey, we would really like to do 1 through 5, or like like what kind of came first there?
Yeah, with Atlus, we made an agreement that we were going to be doing basically all of the SMT games that we could.
I was gonna say,
And
yeah, you don't want to just say all. I'm gonna be expecting a Demi
yeah,
Kids vinyl if you say that.
no, that's there's a little too much content to do everything.
I mean,
But
listen, I
as
don't know
much
if
as I would really like to,
there's a little indie game out there called Soul Hackers. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's got a pretty popular soundtrack.
I think I've heard of it. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so with that one, as well as kind of like the fact that we're sort of creeping up there with the initial ones that we know about, with 4 kind of being there, have you guys been pleased with the reception of it? Has it like have you like heard anything from like Japan of like were they sort of surprised like how the final product was? Because like my biggest thing, ironically, with them, the thing I hear the most outside of how much everyone loves the cover arts, like all the art Tony did, unsurprisingly, everybody loves all the original art they do. Because it's one thing, kind of like you said, of just, oh, well, we'll just throw the game cover art on the vinyl and call it a day. Like getting like brand new like art always kind of goes a lot farther, I feel, for people. But the other thing that I always hear from it is how many people in Japan who are fans of this are being like, "Oh damn, I've got to find a way to import this like as soon as possible."
Uh, from what I understand, the reception has been very, very positive, just all over. Like, and we work closely with Atlus to throughout the process. You know, they make sure that everything we're putting in there is correct. They give us notes if we've, misspelled something along the way or forgot to include any kind of credits. We make sure with them that everything is going to be 100% to spec. Like, they have definitely given us a lot of information and guidance on the whole process, and it's been very helpful having them with us to make sure everything is perfect.
As a fan of the series, has there been anything that's kind of been like a pleasant surprise or anything that you've learned along the way working on these like musical releases or any of the other Atlas collabs you guys have done? Whether it be like, because I always find it interesting of like little weird like Atlasisms of like, oh, I wouldn't think that this would be a big deal, but oh well, they're very particular about this, or they really really want this. Like a funny one I always like to bring up that I learned recently was Atlus is very specific for certain games using certain art of like some ones they care about versus others, especially if you're reusing one from another. Like things I find funny of if you're promoting Persona 4 Golden, they don't want you to ever use art from the PS2 release. It always has
Yes.
to be from that. But if you're Persona 3 Portable, go for it. PS2 cover, you can do whatever you want. Nobody cares apparently on that one. So it's always kind of funny of like the little like the things they kind of have like for their like each like release has its own Atlas Bible.
Yeah, and there's, that's totally understandable. They have their whole legal departments and, guidelines that they have to go by. So, of course, we would have to go by them too. Um, there's been a lot of little things like just for, the text that we can use, like referring to certain characters in certain ways, the naming conventions. It's been a lot to keep in our minds, but they always, give us exactly what we need for clarification or any kind of notes. So it's helpful, very helpful.
Also, since you guys are kind of getting closer to the main Quintology release, sort of wrapping up, are you? Because I know I've seen like you guys do box sets before, but I'm trying to
Mhm.
think like if you've done like compilation box sets. Like, would you guys ever be open to do like a really big like 1 through 5 like bundle box set or something like that?
It's possible. I don't know that I can really say one way or the other if we're going to be doing any kind of complete, what would that be? Some double digit number.
I was
Uh,
gonna say we're at least getting to like the 25 30 disc vinyl at that point.
yeah, which it's it's a bit of a harder sell for, customers, especially because, yeah, it's nice to have it all in one complete set, but at that point, the cost and the weight and the shipping, it's
Well, I was thinking, especially because they've already released previously, like, do you think it would ever be worth it to kind of like just make a sleeve to fit them or like a box to put them in?
it's a possibility.
Okay. Um, the other one that I've kind of been curious about with it, especially just from like expectations, since you guys produce everything beforehand. The nice thing I really like about you guys is that you guys are never really afraid of reprinting stuff as long as there's like demand there, and not really having that FOMO, especially if it's like a current release that you guys are putting out. Has there been any of these like releases or any other ones that come to mind, even if it's not an Atlas thing, of you're like, okay, we're we're putting out just for like example, like we're doing the SMT5 vinyl. Let's produce X thousand copies, and then a day and a half later they're all gone, and you're like, wow, okay, well that's really weird.
Yeah, we sometimes are. completely caught off guard with how much demand there is on our products, and we immediately have to, do a repress or a reprint, whatever. And that's always really nice, actually, to have that feeling of like, oh, the people really wanted this, and we can continue giving it to them. Because I've definitely been on the other end of that where I didn't know something was releasing until, a day after, and it's completely gone because, they only made 300 of something and they never planned to make it again. And that's a bummer. Like, nobody wants that. So as long as people want something, we'll continue to make it.
I recently had that with the Lunar release. It was so funny of like I genuinely I was like, I don't know, like is there enough demand for Lunar on three different systems on just Amazon to like sell out in like less than 3 hours? And of course I was horribly wrong, but it was very funny of like that was even one of those weird ones of like I ended up eventually getting a copy, but that was like one of those things of like it's funny because it's not like Gung Ho was like, oh well, we're only making one run, or you have to get this. Like they're like, hey, we'll reprint as many as you guys want. They just did a funny thing of like, for whatever reason, you had to get it on release day. Every other country in the world could pre-order it, but America was like, no, 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 we know how many you guys want. Don't worry about it. Which, by the way, I mean, listen, I don't know of any other publisher who's ever done that before. It I'm at least glad someone's tried it. They at least know now how many Lunar sickos there are still alive, apparently. But it's a very funny thing of just like learning of being like, all right. I mean, I would have maybe thought maybe 5 to 10,000 copies out there, and then learning like no, at least according to us online and a lot of people on eBay trying to resell copies, there's a lot of old timers who like their old RPGs.
And we love it.
Um, Kind of stepping away a little bit from the vinyl and stuff with it. You guys done? I've done other stuff like for Atlus. I mentioned earlier, even like the Snowboard Kids one. You guys have done releases for like SMT in general, some Persona 5 stuff. I shouldn't say some Persona 5. A lot of Persona 5 stuff. Spoilers: Persona 5 very popular. Um, do you have a personal item that you guys are either proud of having or just like a really big fan of? One I always get a kick out of is the vinyl slip mat. I really really like that one. Is very clean.
Yeah, the Jack Trio.
Yeah, the not real Jack Bros. We
Yeah.
unfortunately Jack Bro number 3 has been canceled due to nefarious allegations, which we cannot comment on. But yes, the at least you didn't put like McCoy on there. When McCoy's on there, that's when I know like Papa Corporate Atlas had to step in, and they're like, "Nuh-uh, we get that Jack Bro out of there. We got to put McCoy in there. He's the real third Jack Bro."
Yeah, no, the slip mat was a fun one. I really like the design of that, just because it's fun watching it spin, even really. But it's for me, it's always nice to see. There's a lot of Persona and SMT stuff out there that's just very much focusing on just Jack, but or like Jack Frost. But some of the more niche stuff to me, like the press turn icon pin, like I really like that one. It's simple, but like it's cool to have.
Yeah, that one, and also you guys, I'm pretty sure, are still the only people out there with officially licensed Me Man merch. Like when SMT5 came out, I was like, "Oh my god, these little buggers are going to be just merchandise to hell and back." And boy, have I been horrifically wrong the last 4 years. But
It is surprising.
every time I see anything Me Man related, I'm always like, man, they are very fun. I love that they got the little like their little stone that dangles and stuff for it. Um, that one was always really really surprising to see. If you told me that something as simple as like a Mothman sweater would be something that I've seen you guys sell out of repeatedly, I would have told you you're lying to me.
Oh yeah,
That was a pleasant surprise.
everyone loves Mothman. I mean, that's definitely very high up on the list. The plushie and the sweater.
Yeah, the plushie sold out even really fast too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the plush went crazy fast.
That's a that's a funny one of like especially with revisionist history, because I really feel like the memes for Mothman really were maybe like a 5-something-year-old thing.
Yeah, even when we released it, like the memes had kind of come and gone. But I think what helped was in five, his voice lines or his text lines are also just very good, and the plush itself is really well made. Our plush team does such a great job with every plush that they do. They spend weeks and months perfecting it and making sure it's as cute as possible, and it really shows through on this one.
Yeah, and the tricky thing, unfortunately, when it comes to licensing, especially a lot of stuff in the West, is unlike like similarly with the vinyls and stuff, you can't really just say, "Oh, hey, we would like to make Atlus merch," and then kind of have carte blanche to do whatever you want for each game title. Each one is like sort of its own separate battle of like, hence why all of your stuff is specifically Persona 5 merchandise. There's no Persona 5 Royal merchandise. There's Shin Megami Tensei 5 merchandise, but there's not Vengeance merchandise, and all that always kind of has to be handled differently. And it's always kind of funny to me. Of one of the ones I always am surprised about is even something like as popular as Persona 5 is, you really will only ever see stuff for original and royal, whereas like we've maybe had like a handful of figurines for Tactica's actually a weird one. Tactica's actually had more than all the other spin-offs, even where like there was nothing for strikers, there was nothing for dancing, and all of these like had a bunch of stuff in Japan, but like in the West for whatever reason, it's kind of that thing where a lot of these companies, at least from the outside, it almost feels like all they can get is like Persona 5 for it. Whereas like for you guys, have you guys had like any instances of like, oh well, we'd love to get this spin-off, but it's just a huge other ball of wax to try and like get this specific version of this game's merchandise done?
Yeah, we can't always get everything that we want, and sometimes it's a little disappointing, but we do get quite a bit of what we ask for usually. So, um, and we try to work within the constraints of what is provided, and sometimes there's just not the ability to get some of the titles that we're asking for, and it's a shame, but we'll keep trying.
I'm still holding my breath. Someone one day will make me very happy and find a way to officially license Tokyo Mirage Sessions merchandise. I don't know how, but it will happen one day. The
Probably
closest
pretty
we
complicated.
the closest we ever got, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember that they were going to do a concert for TMS in Japan?
That does sound familiar, actually. Yeah,
So, do you remember what year TMS came to Switch?
like 12, 20. No,
So
not offhand.
it was 2020 in January
Oh, way
worldwide,
off.
and they had announced in 2019 that to promote the release, or I guess not really to promote, but in release of the game on Switch, because there was new music made for it, they were going to get the whole cast of the like all the like main idols they had in the game, and they were going to do a one night only concert in Japan for June. And then a fun little pandemic happened that canceled it. And I remember I when that got announced, I was like, I was in the ticket lottery to try and sign up for it. I was like, if there was ever going to be a thing that I would travel halfway across the world for, it would be this concert, because I was like, this will be the only place they will ever be legally allowed to make merchandise for this game ever again. And I was like, well, now I just gotta wait, I guess, for Tokyo Mirage Sessions 2 to get announced, and then I guess hell will freeze over.
Hey, anything's possible, right? Who knows?
I mean, that is true. I mean, you guys, I remember so many people were so shocked when you guys announced you were doing Snowboard Kids stuff. Was that kind of like a funny one of like being able to do that, in the sense of like that game is so that's one of those few games that like there are so many people I know who have no idea that that's an Atlus game, but it was just so nostalgic for it, both of those first two games on 64, of just like such a right time, right place kind of nostalgic re-release.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of the people, even internally here, really just knew it from just playing it, on the 64 way back when. Like once we had the access to Atlus and some of them saw that it was an Atlus title, like there was there was a lot more of a there was internal excitement to do it, and we were all really very into Snowboard Kids. Like we're the majority of the people at Fangamer who were there at that time were in the same age range, and we all kind of played the same games when we were that age.
You didn't have to explain to anybody what Snowboards Kids was. Hopefully.
Not really. No, I think everyone at Fangamer who
Oh no, I
was
meant
in
from
that
Atlus.
conversation.
I was ready for the
Oh
Atlus employees to be like, I don't know, did we release this game?
no, no, no. They had everything on hand and ready to go.
Have you had any chance, or has anyone ever shown you pictures of like what the Atlus like internal like HQ building like museum they have is in their like why am I trying to think about it? Their like corporate office in the West, they have like a cool little like museum of like everything they've ever released, and it is so funny of like it's so many games, and it's not even all of them for like just the Western released ones. Where it's like, I remember someone showed me like just like a picture of like, here's like one photo of like from basically Amazing Tater all the way to like Persona 5, and just being like, what's funny is like this probably like 20 grand in just video game stuff just in glass cases, just because of how expensive so much of that stuff has gotten.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've never gotten to see it, but it sounds like a collector's dream.
Well, the crazy one is there's a lot of titles missing, or at least some weird like one-off merchandise things that have either slipped through or got damaged or been missing in moves. Where like I'm sure they still have it. It's just probably not like easily accessible for them. I've had friends though who have been to the Japan office, and the Japan one I've never seen photos of because you're not allowed to at least publicly share them. But I'm like, I can only imagine how insane all the Japanese stuff must be from all the stuff they've licensed over the years. Because really, Atlus licensing stuff has only been prevalent the last like 8, 9 plus years. Like we weren't really getting a lot of licensed stuff until Persona 5.
Yeah, I think the only piece of official Atlas merch I even like myself had for the longest time was my little Raiho plush, and that came with the collector's edition.
That's the best part about Raito 2. I always love telling people about Raito 2 is like everyone's like, "Oh, this was such a nice collector's edition." And I always have to remind people like, "No, that was the day 1 edition."
Yeah,
That was like
it's
that you had to bundle everything in you had to basically beg people to buy PS2 games back in 2008.
yeah. I was working in a game store at the time actually, so I really remember that. Yeah.
I will say that probably goes up there. That's probably their best displaying box they've ever made. Like just from like the way they made that presentation with like the plastic vertical like tilted cover with the like plush sitting down, like that has such like a special like nostalgic like look to it. It still looks really really cool.
Yeah, I definitely pulled mine out of the box though, and it's just been sitting in my office, like here at Fangamer, actually, for a few years now. Which, because I'm the worst kind of collector, where I will open boxes.
Oh no, you're looking right at it. I buy one of everything. If I was smart, I would have just been collecting and just been like buy one for me, one to keep sealed, and then eventually make money. Of like no, I always am like I only think of getting one copy, and I always open it. And I've only been burned a couple of times in the sense of like there are some boxes that are just had totally just mushed into the ground because of me opening them. But again, like my thing is like, well, everything that's still in the box is still in perfect condition. So like if the box really gets flattened, it's not that big of a deal. The funny one is like the big collector's edition box for Persona 4 Dancing on Vita. Did you order that?
I actually didn't even have a Vita until like way
Oh
after its
man,
life cycle.
you're killing me.
I just didn't I didn't have the money.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's $900 memory cards over here. I can't really blame you.
Yeah. And then once it was out of service essentially, then I got one.
Oh, okay. So you at least you own one now, at least.
I
That's
do, yeah.
that's okay. I was worried it was just like, well, I missed my time. It's 2016. I might as well wait for the Switch.
No, I was a big PSP guy. Like I had my PSP and I used it to death. Like to the point where I had to, get a new battery and everything. And I had
I
one of those
I
big
check on my
extended
PSP
batteries.
every couple of months. I'm like, are you ready to explode, little guy?
Is it the time?
he's sitting there waiting, plotting, waiting for me to stop looking one of these days. But I'm still rocking my OG '06 battery on my PSP.
It's impressive.
I know. Now that I've said that, I've just willed it into like nuking on me after this
Well, yeah,
podcast is done.
you're gonna have to check immediately after we're done here.
Um, I don't want to keep you too long. I know I've already gone over an hour, but I figured honestly we've kind of just done this podcast in reverse at this point. If you got another minute or two, do you mind if I ask you a couple of just Atlas fan questions in general?
Sure, yeah, no, go for it. I got time.
Okay, so uh, you've done a great job of hiding it. I think we've sussed out that you like Atlas games, whether or not you worked at Fangamer. How
Mhm.
did how did you get interested in the company, or like, do you remember like what your first Atlas game was in general, whether it be SMT or not?
So I think the first Atlas game I actually played was, I want to say, I don't even know if it counts really, is Ogre Battle 64.
Oh, that 1,000% counts. We listen, as long as it was an Atlas game, it didn't matter if they made it or just published it. Ogre Battle's a great one. I think that's only ever come up like a time or two with it, but those games are so, I mean they still hold up great. Like
Oh yeah, I love the Ogre Battle series, like Tactics Ogre, Ogre Battle, everything. Like Unicorn Overlord, like everything is just so it's right up my alley. Like I love it. And just in middle school, I played Ogre Battle 64 and got super deep in the trenches on that. Like I didn't have internet, so I had no idea how to get some of this stuff. I had to go to like the computer lab at school and like look up like can I get this character? What's up? And I played it to death. But then after that, my first, I guess, SMT game would have been Nocturne.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And for that one, I got really lucky, and I was working at a game store, like I said, and somebody was there to trade in their copy of Nocturne, like on the PS2, just the original run. And they were going to get like $20 in credit, and I was like, I'll give you 25 in cash right now.
Do you know what year this would have been?
That would have been '08, I think.
Okay, yeah, so really, really early still.
Yeah. And then from there, I played that one all the way through and just loved it. Everything about it was so different from what I had seen, and the darker feel and Conoco's art, and it was just so cool to me. And from there, Rioto came out, and just every like Persona releases and everything, I just grabbed it all.
So did you play any of the earlier Personas since you'd kind of gotten into Nocturne after the PS2 was almost over?
I got into them a little later because it was hard to find access to it. Like, and it was, it's not exactly like for a newcomer, it's not easy to figure out the whole like Persona 2 situation.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Speaking of doing things in reverse.
Yeah. But, eventually as time went on, I figured it all out and got, access to them. And yeah, no, I played everything and looked at everything in depth, and I just love pretty much everything SMT and any Persona, everything I can get my hands on.
Well, and that's always kind of like the best part about. I love how even for so many years, even just from the Western releases, it is such a spread out kind of release series of like just all the stuff that it covers from genres to different types of games and things like that, where it's so funny like hearing stories of people being like, "Oh yeah, like I started with Arena and then I jumped to the dancing games and then I played Rido and then I played Mainline." Like just people going like all over the places in terms of like release order or just whatever ones really play because again, it doesn't matter which one you start with, whether it be Smash Brothers or Persona 5. Um, the funny thing, especially with like nowadays, where outside of like a release or two, the only thing that really kind of may like suck with going back on other releases is just like things just keep getting easier and cheaper to play. Thankfully, for a lot of releases, it's just like there are those other like weird balancing acts of like if you told me gosh, yeah, even like back when I started this podcast in like 2012, if you had told me that all these years later we still wouldn't have an officially released console version of SMT1 or any of the other, like, I would just be like, no, that can't be true. But then again, like, you look at stuff like, look how long it took Square to put out like the Pixel remasters for like Final Fantasy. So it's like just because it seems really easy or seems like the most logical thing for it out there, I never really hold it against them just because it's like there are so many weird loops or weird loops. There's always so many weird hoops to have to jump through just to get any of these games out that like I'm always shocked when we get one game a year, let alone if it's like last year where we got four and I was like, "Oh my god, what the hell's going on?"
Yeah, and you never know what's coming down the line either. Like there's been like the Pixel remasters, like you said, that I had no idea that was going to be happening, but it's very encouraging to see that some of these older titles are getting, attention even still. Like, sure, Final Fantasy's been released, several times in several formats, but the fact that people still like it and want to see what, new additions are coming to it makes me think that, eventually, who knows, maybe we will get official releases for all the games we want, but who knows?
I always tell people, and it's always kind of hard to not feel like you're sounding like too much like an optimist with this, but it's just hard not to feel like it's true, especially to a certain extent of it's never a matter of if, it's always a matter of when. Because it's like there are only so many like ways that they can remaster or re-release or even make new games or other spin-offs where it's just gonna like make sense with it to have these things kind of out there with everything for it, especially with how much they kind of lean into releases trying to really tie into each other or more than one way with another. Like how when Nocturne got announced, the funny thing with Nocturne HD, especially before its release, it was like, wow, this is crazy, we're finally getting it. But then you really think about it, it's like, well, Nocturne HD probably wouldn't actually have happened if we weren't getting 5. And how long 5 took to come out. Like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, these make a lot of sense. We haven't had a mainline game release in consoles in forever. So, like, they kind of feed into each other of, like, what makes sense, what can we really do, what can really, like, put out and stuff like that with it.
Yeah, and sometimes they just are working on things in the background just to keep things flowing while they figure out, engine stuff or whatever. Like, I mean, just today, Oblivion released.
Oh my god. Yeah, releases in general have just been wild. I remember even like with the Raito thing, that was not like that was a month ago. We learned about that a month ago. How insane is that?
I never actually saw that like coming. I love that it's happening and it looks amazing and I'm gonna be buying it. But I had kind of a little bit like myself just thought I'm not gonna get another Raito game. Like even a remaster or a remake or port or anything. I didn't think that the numbers were there, but clearly someone at Atlus did think that it was worthwhile, and I am so glad they did.
Yeah, I'd be actually curious. I forget what the numbers are, at least for Japan, because I feel pretty confident that Raito is the weakest out of all the PS2 ones, but it was funny for like so long, everyone was so certain that DDS was going to be next because it's like, yeah, you would go chronologically, just go what was the next PS2 games coming out. Like the only way it could be more weird is like imagine in like some bizarro world we live in. At the Nintendo Direct last month, they were like, "All right, guys, Makin remastered." It's like, okay,
Who knows, right?
I mean, yeah. Now that I've said it, the monkey's paw is curled, so it's incoming. That with my PSP battery exploding in me.
I just hope everybody buys Rido. Just one copy per person for everyone.
No, no, no. One copy per platform per person. We
Well,
gotta
oh
milk this as
yes,
much as possible.
you're right. You're right. I need a brand new Rido game to play.
I will say, did you watch the like 20-minute like little overview the director did?
Yeah, a lot of the changes that are upcoming are really great. I think that they're going to make it really accessible to people because yeah, it's an older game and sometimes, people have a hard time going backwards.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, like my biggest surprise more than anything was like how much work they're putting into this, especially compared to Nocturne. And then the fact that they are doing this with the clear intent of, hey, we know that there are at least 7 of you out there who really love Rido, and we want to make more of these games out there, and this is the best way for us to really find out how. So I like if now almost more than anything, like I just can't wait for June to really get here for us to see, because I'm like, I don't know how it doesn't succeed, at least in the sense of like Nocturne HD sold insanely well in Japan, like way better than it should have. Like Nocturne HD in Japan especially, like I don't know if it was just it released in a really slow month in 2020 or whatever, but like it's the 4th best-selling game in the whole series,
Huh.
which is extra wild when you remember that Nocturne is the worst selling. Like OG Nocturne is the worst. Nocturne HD is the 4th best selling.
Well,
So, oh, apologies by the way. My sales brain number was dumb. Nocturne Maniacs was the worst with Rido.
ah,
Nocturne Maniacs is the worst selling at 70 plus thousand. Uh, Nocturne OG is the second best selling at 250, but it's like a weird tie between US sales with 5 and 4, where like 5 is the best selling overall in the whole series, but we don't have the best data over here in the West for it with it. But it still, the fact that like Nocturne HD sold better than both Strange Journeys and Apocalypse, very, very weird.
I think it's an availability thing too. Like the Switch is hands down the most popular console.
That's true.
Like
And that
so,
was still back when people actually bought PS4 games. And that, it's funny actually. That's not actually not even counting PC sales. That's just consoles.
but
So,
I'm excited for everything coming. I'll take whatever they got.
are you? We talked about it a little bit before with it. Do you know what are you planning on playing it on console wise? Because like originally, I was like, well, I'm definitely gonna pick it up on everything that gets a disc version of it. But I was like, oh, I'll probably do PS5. The tricky part, I'm kind of tempted now to pick it up on Switch 2 because at least in Asia, for some reason, they're releasing it early there.
Hmm. I'm probably gonna still stick with the PS5 personally, just because for me that's the most comfortable gaming experience. Because I just have it in like a good place in my house with a nice chair and stuff. So I just like playing it on PS5.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of the achievements from that like Steam leak last year. I
Mhm.
hope it has a good trophy list because like Atlus games are always like one of two ways of like it's either just bearable enough that I'll do it, and then sometimes it'll be those ones where it's like, oh, this is just so much more work that I am like I'll get it eventually. I'm just not looking forward to having to do this with it. So it's always like weird of like the ones that I think will be the easiest. I then end up not doing, and then the ones that are like end up being way more of a pain in the ass. I'm like, all right, Metaphor, I'll get your platform because I'll get your platinum. Like it's not like I have to beat the game twice, and then after beating the game twice, I'm like, why did I do this to myself?
I'm still chipping away at Metaphor, which Metaphor is fantastic. I love it. Everything about it is amazing. But I am so deep in the trenches on that one. Like I can't stop like grinding for some reason.
It's fun.
Every time.
It's easily I feel their most addictive gameplay loop they've done. Like
Yeah.
the dungeon exploration with the like turn based and like the archetype system is so much fun to mess around with in a way that I was initially genuinely really worried with kind of leaving leaving something for what looked like on the outside just a more basic kind of class-based system, it definitely was not. It's a lot more free flow than I would have given them credit.
Yeah, everything that they did just felt like such an improvement on like everything that came before it, and just so streamlined and fun, and it's such a great game.
Now, I don't know if you've noticed, Metaphor has got a lot of good music in there.
I have heard some music, yeah.
And I think everyone online has fallen asleep at the wheel because I've looked. There's not a single physical release of the Metaphor vinyl anywhere. So if you guys need to come up with some really great ideas that I'm sure no one has thought of before this moment, a Metaphor vinyl might be kind of popular.
I think that would be a popular item.
For you though, just so we can kind of get out of here, but also because I'm genuinely curious for you, what's what's on your like next up to play? So once you finally finish Metaphor, you roll credits. It's 2033. What are you thinking you want to play next that you haven't touched yet on the Atlus pile?
Ooh, let's see. What would be something? Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to the new Rido release.
Hmm.
So
Thankfully that's a much shorter game.
yeah. So hopefully, I can finish up Metaphor, like really knuckle down and get that done because I've been playing it for God. What did you release last year?
It's been 8 months. Can you believe it?
Oh my gosh. No, I cannot. So I want to finish Metaphor. Hopefully, I can get the time for that. It's just always incredibly busy. Rido. Honestly, I kind of want to give Digital Devil Saga another run on the PS2.
And
Or,
what'll happen is when you finally roll credits on it, then they will announce the HD version.
yeah, they're waiting on me. So.
They're like, "Damn it, Alex, we had to put Rido out first. You haven't beaten DDS yet."
Yeah, they gotta get that alert.
Yeah, those bugs in your PS2 are very, very tired of waiting for you.
Yeah, I know it's on me, so that's really I'm sorry, guys.
The weight of the fandom, no pressure.
Yeah, this is my bad.
So, have you played them before, or would this just be a replay?
It would be a replay, but I played them, at this point, what, 15 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a long
So,
time.
so it's the one that's the least fresh in my mind.
If you are ever up for getting your heart broken because the chance of it getting finished is very below zero, I cannot recommend enough to everybody listening. Have you checked out or read any of Quantum Devil Saga?
No, I don't think I have.
So the original author, I'm forgetting their name because I'm terrible, but the original author who did these like scenario for DDS wrote basically like a companion sequel called Quantum Devil Saga. All new characters, very similar world and tone and stuff like that. Years ago, I think it's Bento Books got the rights. They were going to do all five. They did a really nice hardcover release of the first two. The first one sold okay, but then they kind of waited a little too long to put the second one out. And the worst part is like I think they still have the rights. Is that like most of them, if not the whole series, is translated. They just gave up on releasing them due to weak sales, and it's like, oh, it's because they're really really good, and then we're just like left on like cliffhanger hell over here. But if you ever want more stuff out there, I would recommend not buying a copy because they are horrifically expensive. I think like at least like as of a year or two ago, they were like the hard covers. I think were going for like around $200 to $300.
Oh.
Which is funny because it's not even like officially like well not official. It's not like it is SMT officially. It's the author's own original work and stuff, just very like very obviously like inspired and kind of taken from the world of DDS. But it's
Yeah.
not an Atlus thing. But that's one of those ones that if anyone out there who really loves DDS 1 and 2 just wants more, that's what that whole like 5-part novel is about. I mean, thankfully they're all available like in Japanese, so if you ever want a fun challenge, you can learn Japanese and read the rest of those.
it's a good reward at the end of learning Japanese.
Yeah, that was. Let me tell you, by the way, in terms of like weird things you never expect to get officially licensed, like the day that I read that press release that those books were coming out, that's when I knew it should have been too good to be true. It's like that thing of like you ever get really into a new series just to find out it ends after like 20 episodes and they got canceled during season two.
I recently had a show get canceled the minute I stopped like finished the season.
What show?
It was Inside Job on Netflix.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I had a lot of people like that for. I was wondering if it was going to be an animation one or not because I had a friend recently just have that with Mythic Quest. He finally
Oh,
got into
yeah.
Mythic Quest 4 seasons in, and they're like, "Oh, it's canceled." Like, "Whoa, what the?"
No, Mythic Quest is when I was watching as it was coming out. That was a great show. And then, yeah, the season just ended. And then, what, like a week later, they said it got canceled and they're doing reshoots?
I feel no. So what's wild is they just uploaded. So they filmed two different endings for the last episode. So
Hmm?
I've seen everything but the newest season. But a friend of mine was telling me this. So when they got canceled, they had a hunch it might be the ending. So what aired was the original ending, but they uploaded last week the new ending, assuming the show got canceled, which just basically leaves out all the cliffhangers and ties up a couple of extra things. I haven't seen it, but here's the extra wild part. Apple TV uh, just got rid of the original version. So they just changed it so you can't watch both. You can only now watch the oops, it's canceled version.
Well, I'm glad I saw the original before it got taken away then, because I still need to see this updated one. But that's crazy. It's such a strange time that we live in where that can happen, which
Oh, yeah.
is which is also to loop things back. I'm so glad that everyone is on board with making physical things like this. Like that's why we have like all the publishing, like physical video games and physical media for records and CDs, like because it can all go away at any time, and it's such a bummer.
Yeah, and it's been nice to see that it's been continuing to get more popular because I feel like it's its own much larger and longer discussion about physical versus digital because like I think it is always so easy for people to have such a doomer mentality of physical's dying, all this is happening, blah blah blah, but it's like as you guys know better than anybody, it's like there is a niche that's out there that is large enough for multiple companies to still be doing this and making a profit on it. It's just the days are changing, they're not ending. And I think a lot of people kind of need to get used to this the way that like the music industry changed, the way movies have changed, and a lot of things of, hey, you'll still be able to buy physical version of X, Y, and Z for a long time as long as you keep supporting it. But if everyone just looks at Walmart and Target and says, oh, well, damn, the game section is smaller now, I guess it's dead, and then goes all digital, that's the stuff that will lead to it ending quicker. It's just people need to kind of look at it ending in one avenue and then kind of get more inclined to do research and be like, where can I find this? Where are we still getting releases like this?
Yeah, and the community is out there, and they're so supportive of releases, and everyone's really doing their part to keep this kind of business alive, which is fantastic because it keeps me in work for one. But it also helps us keep everything, accessible and keeps things from being just completely, gone after legally gone after a certain point.
But on our very happy note, though, as we talk about our dystopian physical media face, Alex, first off, thank you so much for chatting with me. Apologies for stealing you as long as I did, but where do you want people to find you online, or where do you want people to throw their money at you for Fangamer?
Oh, just go to fangamer.com or fangamer.eu or fangamer.jp if you're in Japan. And just check it out. Sign up for the newsletter if you can. Get a lot of information from there on new releases. We don't spam you with it. It's just like 3 a month usually.
No fluff. It's all good stuff.
Just find out exactly what's coming out as soon as it releases. And, check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Bluesky. all those usual places?
I'm sure someone made a Threads. There's probably a Threads out there somewhere.
Probably.
Someone was like, I had to make the Fangamer fan account on Threads. No one, the market was empty. Had to swoop in and steal that account.
Might not be us, but it might be one there.
Someone's doing the Lord's work over there for the 5 people on Threads.
Oh no, we are on Threads.
Okay, there you go. See, we willed it into
Fangamer.com.
existence.
Threads.net at Fangamer.com.
See, that's why you're the forever company man. You're doing the work no one expects you to.
Someone's got to do it, right?
It's true. Also, I know this is the outro. You saying Fangamer Japan unfortunately reminded me of a question that I forgot to ask, even though I'm pretty sure the answer will be, I can't give you an answer, Spencer. Please be quiet. For all of the 17 sickos out there who love what you guys do, especially for the vinyls for SMT, is there any chance that there are going to be other ways for them to buy the vinyl from Fangamer and get it shipped to Japan? Because obviously, the way everything has to be kind of licensed and stuff, you guys, at least as of right now, can't sell it and ship it to Japan. Is that a thing that you guys are actively kind of looking into alternatives for? Or, like, what's the best sort of, like, answer, if any at all, for people who live in Japan or other countries like that?
Well, it's really up to the Japan branch and Atlus to figure out a situation that works best for everyone. So I can't really say one way or another whether that would be something that would be possible. When it is possible, you can always order from fangamer.com and ship to Japan. Obviously, it does cost a little bit more than something that is available in the Japan-only store, which only ships to Japan. But it is an option for those cases where it is available for sale in Japan, but not carried in the Japan store.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on. Everybody, make sure we'll put links for you to check everything out. We need a ginormous spike so everyone can get the SMT 1, 2, and F vinyl sold out and confuse everybody for no reason at all. Because, Alex can't say this. I can at least say there's no way to prove it wrong that if we buy more vinyls, the 4 vinyl comes out quicker. He can neither confirm nor deny this, but it definitely doesn't hurt the speed at which it comes out.
I muted it, so I didn't hear what you said.
Exactly. Exactly. But yes, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the show. Alex, thank you again for coming on. I will see you all next week, and appreciate you all for taking the time out of your very busy RPG-heavy week, whether it be Expedition 33, Oblivion, or whatever 900 other releases are coming out this week. So have a good rest of your week, everybody. I will see you next week for another fun episode of SMTN. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.